Hey team, today we'll be opening up the Google Cloud Functions swim lane in beta, and to kind of set the expectations, right? So today, in the serverless ecosystem, we have like AWS Lambda, Azure functions, and Google Cloud Functions. So these are all tied to the various cloud providers. These are like core kind of foundations for serverless applications. Now, Google has Cloud Functions, and in Google Cloud Functions, we have two kind of offerings. One is the Google Cloud Functions Gen 1, which is Google's old version of deploying Cloud Functions and creating Cloud Functions. The issue with this experience is you can only do like a basic deployment. There was no way to extend like abilities to do Canary or Blue Green. And so, in order to kind of cater to this use case, Google Cloud Functions created a Gen 2 of Google Cloud Functions. And this supports like the native capabilities of traffic shifting. They also have a better rollback capability because they now have revisions, so they now have different versions of the Google Cloud Function, and we can actually use that for our rollback mechanism. So, to get started, to show the team kind of how this works, we can go to our service. We can go to our Cloud Function service here, and you'll see that we'll have a new deployment type called Google Cloud Function, and we'll have a construct of a function definition, which is your manifests. And within your function definition, you'll be able to kind of fetch a function YAML and be able to pass that in. And what that function YAML is, it's just like a param file that has all the like base definitions you need for a Google Cloud Function. So if you were to create a new Google Cloud Function configuration, you would see this kind of sample, and we give you an out-of-the-box sample YAML to get started. So this is the base YAML structure that you need, and what we have in our docs will be like the actual full param file that you can use to actually construct this Google Cloud Function. But these are the bare bones inputs that a user needs to get started with Google Cloud Function. So we give you a sample YAML to get started. And so the flow would be you could like download this YAML, upload it to your GitHub, then link the function definition from remote, or you can download the YAML, add or copy it into the local Harness file store and get going. For the artifact sources, they're all tied to GCP, so you would have to configure like a Google Cloud provider connector. And then for Google Cloud Storage, we need the artifact source name, the project, the bucket, and the artifact path. Now, to call out, we only support one artifact repository type right now because Google Cloud Functions Gen 2 only supports one. We are planning on launching Gen 1 further along in this beta. And in Gen 1, we'll have like Cloud Source Repository, which is the other artifact source that Google uses to actually fetch the function code to deploy. And Gen 2 doesn't have that capability today. So in our docs, we'll have like a matrix that Google has given us in their docs that says like what's supported in Gen 1 versus Gen 2. So as a consumer, when we pitch the swim lane, we could say, hey, we support Gen 2. This is the offering. And a user can kind of figure that out. We'll support the Harness variables. Those still haven't changed. You'll still get those out of the box. And then when you go to our pipelines, and if we go to a basic deployment here, you'll see that you'll have like this deploy Google Cloud Function kind of step, which is like a basic deployment. We offer a bunch of different ones like deploy Google Cloud Functions. We'll have a rollback. We have functions with no traffic and then routing traffic. So if you use this step alone, it's just going to deploy the function and route all 100% traffic to the new function. And so that's like a rollout deployment, right? We've rolled out the new function and we automatically route the traffic to it, all 100%. But if you're trying to do a canary or blue-green style deployment, what you might do is you'll do a Google function deployment with no traffic, and then you can use this traffic shifting step to actually route the existing traffic like 50%, 25% over into this newly deployed function. And then you can eventually route it all to 100%, and then the old function will come 0, essentially. And that's kind of how you can do a blue, green, and canary. And that's the mechanism that we're using. This is only supported in Google Cloud Functions Gen 2. Gen 1 doesn't have access to the routing and the traffic shifting APIs, so you can't do that. It's almost just like a launch, and it's almost like only this capability of just launching and routing all traffic to it. The rollback behavior is also pretty neat. So Google Cloud Functions offers revisions, and so these revisions, so let's say you deploy Google Cloud Function version 1, that would load up a revision 1, right? And then on your second deployment, it would be revision 2. And then on your third deployment, it would be revision 3, right? And let's say on my fourth deployment, I somehow failed. Like we got an error before the Google Cloud Function spun up. We would have, so that would have counted as revision 4, but we reverted back to revision 3, essentially. So that's kind of how it would work. And then when I deploy again, deployment 4, that would be revision 5. So we lose revision 4 because that was a bad state, right? So that's kind of how we are managing rollback, and that the whole process we'll have in our docs on how we do use the revisions construct to roll back. But that's just a high level. It's a pattern that we've been kind of leveraging for other swim lanes, like Cloud Foundry offers this. Kubernetes also now offers like a revision-based concept. So we can use those to kind of roll back our capabilities. And so with that, you'll notice a few things here. So if I go into the execution history and I show you like kind of what goes down, what Harness will do is we'll fetch your serverless YAML. So that is the actual Google Cloud Function definition YAML in Git. And you might be asking, why do we have a new kind of construct of function YAML? The reason why is from feedback from customers and current gen users, they always wanted that Lambda definition that Harness offered as code, like a functional YAML. They didn't want it as just like a Harness definition. They wanted something generic that they could just manage parameters on. This is almost like your parameter file to pass in for Harness to deploy. It has all the like CLI kind of flags that you need to pass in if you're going to do it through the CLI or Jenkins. It's just defined as a YAML, so you get to manage that as a whole file as code. And if you need to make changes, you can parameterize it, tweak it, and reuse it for other teams and other applications. You'll notice that we'll do this prepare rollback. It's a pattern that we use for swim lanes that don't have like a full kind of out of the box like rollback, where it's like Helm rollback or Kubernetes rollback. We have to actually create the state and manage the rollback. So we do a rollback preparation here, and you'll see that in the execution where we save the previous state and its config. And then we'll do a deploy, and in the deploy you'll see the final details of it. So you'll see here function deployment in progress. Here's the actual manifest content. So this is saying I'm using this hello world Java RFT. It's the function entry points hello world. It's Gen 2. And then you'll see the execution logs, and we're querying to make sure that the deployment's up. Once it's successful, we'll tell you the final updated resource, and then we'll say what the updated details are, like how many instances, what was the timeout, what's the memory CPU, the ports, the condition, the routes, the latest revision. All that data we print out to you in the logs. And in the outputs of the step, you'll get data like the function name, the runtime, the state, the environment, the service name, the memory, the revision, and then the percentage of traffic and revision as well. So we have a lot of kind of offering with this step with the swim lane. It innovates and it kind of gives users that similar kind of style that we gave in Kubernetes, where there's a bunch of out of the box capabilities. So you don't have to kind of script and design these things out. So customers that were our design partners for this were LL Bean, and we got some feedback from GAF as well. We are going to offer Gen 1 as well, because Google's Cloud Function user base still hasn't moved over to Gen 2 since Gen 2 is relatively new, and they haven't given a deprecation end of life. So kind of same problems we're dealing with. We have to get customers to move over and users to move over. So they haven't given a firm date, so we'll have backwards compatibility we're working on for Gen 1. And with that, the features behind Feature Flag, and you can reach out to me if you would like to enable it. We are looking for some prospects to definitely trial the swim lane against and kind of get some early feedback. And if any SC or SA would like to try the swim lane, they're more than welcome to. And that is all. Thank you.